Okay, we're going to get started here. Welcome back. It is week 3, live lecture 1. We have had a nice long 2-week break for the holidays, so hopefully you guys all enjoyed your time off. I know I did. We had a lot going on for our holidays. I don't know about you guys, but we were able to spend it with a lot of friends and family and get to relax. So hopefully you guys did the same. And hopefully you guys got caught up with a lot of your stuff. I know some of you guys had submitted stuff recently that I have not gotten to yet. So just know that I will get to all of your late submissions or resubmissions soon. You know, it's just kind of like one of those things where we're starting this new week, week 3. So I will also be getting into those evaluations as well. So hold on, you know, kind of give me some, be flexible and patient with me too. I'm kind of starting as well. You know, we go through the same startup as you guys do as instructors. So hopefully you guys had a wonderful break. Let me know if you guys have any questions about any feedback that I have given you so far. Just a lot of I just noticed in the past feature article that you guys submitted, there was just a lot of inconsistencies in regards to, you know, the alignment that you had going on with some of your images and text, and you know, just some tweaks that you guys need to do. So just make sure that you are making those revisions going forward as you're building upon each week, each day, so that, you know, you're not forgetting about what you need to apply. Because at the very end, in week 4, when you submit your final project, I will be grading the whole 8 pages of your magazine. So you really want to make sure you're making those changes and revisions going forward. Plus, it kind of gives you the chance to make your work evolve and grow and look more effective. It allows you to learn because you're going through the process of revisions and changes. And that's kind of what we do as designers. It's a process. Design is a process. So we learn through changes, feedback, and all that good stuff. So, all right, so let's get started here. I kind of sent an announcement. Let me go switch over to Canvas here. And hopefully you guys got this in announcements here. Big change in terms of your live lecture schedule here. I had to kind of rearrange some things based on my work schedule and my custody schedule with my daughter. So some things kind of need to be shifted. So I really, really, really appreciate your flexibility. I know some of you guys have lectures that overlap because of this. And, you know, don't freak out about that. Just do your best to try to, you know, at least listen to the recording. That's kind of the advantage of being an online student, is having that flexibility. So if you can't make it live, listen to the recording first, you know, make sure you do that. And then if you have any questions, you know, after listen to the recording, just, you know, reach out to me. I'm here for you guys. I want you guys to all succeed. So make sure you're reaching out to me. Okay, just a few things here. So we're in week 3 and it is Monday. So we are meeting, if you're Mountain Time, we're meeting at 9:30, you know, and it's all listed here. I'm Eastern Time, so 11:30. We're starting today, obviously. And then on Wednesday of this week, we are meeting, if you're Mountain Time, 9:30. If you're Eastern Time, again, 11:30. So same time, just Monday and Wednesday for week 3. Our next week, week 4, is going to be a little different. We're going to meet Tuesday and Thursday, same time period, just the 2 different days. Thursday will be our very last lecture, so we'll be kind of wrapping things up at that point. So I don't see it being a problem being on a Thursday. I know it's a little late in the week, but hopefully you got my announcement about that. Always kind of check in with your announcements for information like that. Okay, so as we go forward here, you know, we have to talk about deadlines. It's always about deadlines, right? So you don't forget your discussions are due before midnight this Saturday. We're back into the groove. I know it's hard to kind of get started again, but take that break as far as like the break that we just had as maybe fueling you to go stronger this week and kind of ending this course, this class, and in a more, I guess, with more energy, hopefully. I know it's probably not what you're thinking, but hey, we got lots of rest, hopefully, and we're ready to go. So assignment and assessment 3 are also due before midnight on Saturday. Make sure you're getting those in. I'm kind of opening this up for any of you who have questions. I know a lot of you guys are emailing me, which is great. Reach out to me. Don't forget, you also have the learning coach. I will be posting her schedule right after our lecture here, 2 announcements. If I am not available, you can reach out to the learning coach and or student services as well. So let me know if you have any questions. All right, so a little overview of what we're going to be going over today. We're just checking in. Discussion 3, let's take a look at that in a second here. We're just going to do a review about grids. Some stuff that we talked about before, but it's been kind of a while since we've been back in class, so I wanted to go over a few things, just a quick overview, because we are going to be doing, grids are always a part of what we do for the most part and what we're going to be doing for this week. So it's good to kind of review that. And then we're going to go over your assignment 3 overview and do a demo. And then on Wednesday when we meet, we'll go over your assessment 3. I kind of broke that up into 2 parts. I kind of wanted to start this lecture out by a Soul Bass quote here: "Design is thinking made visual," which is I think, a nice way of saying, we are thinking, and in regards to the designs that we are making, we're showing that, we're thinking about all the elements, principles of design that go into what our message is visually. Welcome, Apple. I've been talking for a while here, so how are you doing? Good morning. I'm great. Yeah, I was just talking to myself for a little while here. Welcome back. Hopefully you had a nice break. Everybody had a nice time off, restful break. I actually had probably the opposite of a restful break because I went through a move, but the move was good. Yes, I had a wonderful holiday. I was very busy. I was packing and trying to celebrate the holidays at the same time. So, oh no, yeah, it's never easy. It's never easy. So hopefully, if you have any questions, let me know. I kind of opened this up today, asking if you had any questions. Are you moving out of state, Apple?
I'm moving to California eventually.
Oh, right. You're doing that long trip, right?
Yes.
Because you're in
Texas.
Texas. I was going to say, I thought that's what was a big move. Yikes. Yeah, I've done the Ohio to Florida to PA, so.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was without my daughter. So it was with 2 cats and a dog at the time, but it was pretty stressful for sure. But
well, I'm excited and anxious at the same time, but we'll make it.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think I know a lot of people who have never moved in their life, and they're the same age as me, and I'm like, it's kind of good to like move around and see new places and meet new people. So I think it'll be stressful now, but when you get there, you won't regret it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but it is definitely stressful. Moving is probably one of the most stressful things besides probably divorce. It's probably one of the most stressful things, but once you're done and it's over with, and you almost don't think about it. So
yeah.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
I could give you my boxes, but we're so far away. I know how boxes are like gold, right?
Oh yeah, I need a lot of those right now.
I was like posting on Facebook, does anybody have any boxes? I actually had a lot of friends reach out, and I grabbed a lot of boxes from everybody, so it worked out. But yeah, I know how important that is. All right, so discussion 3. And before we start here, Apple, I didn't give you a chance. Do you have any questions from anything that over the break, or evaluations that I had made. Any questions about anything?
No, not at the moment. I've already made the corrections that you had given me.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just saying, even before you came into class today, make
Oh,
those
yeah.
make those revisions, everybody, because I noticed some of you guys aren't quite making those revisions from the last section that you guys did. Just because when we get to week 4, you can make those corrections along the way instead of doing it all at once.
Yeah, the only thing is I'm having trouble getting started with the discussion. I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what to do with it.
Okay, well, we're going to go over that right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's take a look at your discussions and see if this like clarifies anything here. So week 3, let's take a look at week 3. We have learning objectives, of course, to look at. So each week we have these learning objectives, and this is what you guys should be walking away from learning every week. So self-critique, effective principles of design by listing a minimum of 5 ways to improve a layout. That's going to be, I believe, part of your discussion. Differentiate between effective and ineffective grid use when communicating with the end user. Research and identify proper techniques to convert print media into web media. We'll be doing that with your assessment. Identify the similarities and differences between print and web layout strategies. This week, you will design a full-page advertisement, kind of a fun project there, using a carefully structured grid that will persuade the consumer to purchase the product or service based on the information presented in the ad. You can go ahead and watch this design thinking animation. It's about 3 minutes long if you haven't already. It's kind of interesting little motivational resources there. Let's go into discussion 3. And basically what we're going to be talking about is, excuse me, kind of the critique process, evaluating your design. That is part of the process. Sometimes we think, oh, we don't really need to think about critiquing, but it's super important because not only will your work be critiqued when you're out in the real world by your employers and also your clients, you can also gain a lot from the critique that's given to you if you are open to it. And then also giving critiques. You could be in the situation where you're working in a team environment, you're giving critiques, so you want to make sure that you're doing it effectively and not subjectively. You want to do it more objectively. So subjectively is like, and I've had people say this before, oh, I don't like that color orange. I wouldn't use that in this ad because I don't like the color. Well, that's a personal opinion. That's a subjective comment. So instead, what you want to do is be objective about it. If you don't think that color is working for that particular ad or brand or whatever that you're critiquing, you want to say, I don't think this is working for your brand, and then base it upon an objective, like, why is it not working? Have the facts backed up behind it. So you want to be more objective than subjective. So basically what we're doing is just kind of talking about the critique, constructive criticism part of the design process here. You guys can read through this. My puppy might be barking here. Give me 1 minute. I might have to crate him in a second here. We just got a new puppy too. So not only did we move, we got a new puppy. No, it's just one thing after another. All right, give me 1 second here. I'm gonna crate him real quick and we will talk about this part of the discussion. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that. I thought he was actually going to be good for the lecture, but I guess I was wrong. All right, so this prompt, you're going to, let me read through this. So picture this, you've worked hard and put a lot of thought into every design decision to create a layout you think is amazing. You're confident your design solution is creative and meets the client's expectations and will resonate with the target audience. Now it is time to present your solution to the client and other members of ACME Media Group creative team. You walk into the meeting, confidently show and explain the design solution, and receive feedback that is not clear or helpful. At best, you're feeling confused and left wondering how well you hit or missed your project goals and objectives. How can you avoid this situation? As a designer, it's important to present your work and explain your design decisions so you can receive the right kind of feedback. So part A for this discussion, you will self-critique your multi-page feature article. So your week 2 assignment is what they're referring to. You're going to embed your design into the discussion board for feedback. If you have not completed the week 2 multi-page feature article, choose a project from a previous course and embed the design into the discussion board for feedback. Your goal is to help the client and other creative team members understand your design process. So for your initial post, explain your work using the criteria below. What design problem are you trying to solve? How does your design solve that problem? So basically for part A, you're going to be posting your multi-page feature article. You could just, if you want to, just paste that part, a JPEG or a PDF, whatever you decide to do. And then you're going to say, what design problem are you trying to solve? Well, the feature article, what are you trying to solve? You can do a screenshot. Yep, you can do a screenshot for sure. That might be the easiest way too. So you're trying to solve with the feature article how to communicate effectively, attract the target audience to be pulled into your feature article so that they read from the very first page to the end page, right? And do it effectively where they're nothing's really hindering the flow of the story. Okay, so you're trying to give them information about whatever is in regards to the article, and you're trying to do it effectively. But also persuading them to read it. You could have a feature article that is all body copy and no imagery or very small images in it. That might not be as effective. So you want to make sure that you have in there, you're visually and verbally persuading the target audience to easily follow and read the feature article. How does your design solve that problem? So you might talk about the grid structure that you decided to go with. Remember we talked about the different grid structures? We're going to be reviewing that today as well. Mention about that. Why did you use that grid? What does it do to your design? How does it help improve the organization of it? Talk about the hierarchy of your elements. Talk about the color. Everything the design elements is definitely something that you can hone in on, as well as the design principles. Does that make sense? Okay. Part B, do you have any questions about part A? Still, or is that, okay. So part B, don't forget this part. During the discussion, you are required to make 2 follow-up posts offering constructive feedback. If possible, respond to a classmate who has not received a response in their initial post. The more involved and engaged you are in the process, the more opportunities you will have to improve your work. For each follow-up post, critically analyze the design and offer a minimum of 5 ways the effective use of principles of design can improve the layout. So this is a little bit more challenging, but I think you guys can definitely do this. 5 ways, as much as you can. You can even, and that's a minimum, you can even, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that they have to change, but maybe you're pointing out something that works, Yes, so just like with any of your posts, down here is your requirements. So yeah, you have to kind of follow what you've always done. So 1 APA citation, reference, 2 follow-up posts have to be 50 plus words, all that good stuff. Now, what can you do to use what kind of citation can you use? Well, what if you are critiquing someone else's work and you say, hey, I think maybe a better grid structure like this, maybe you show an example of a different grid structure that you found as a reference. Or maybe you're pointing out a specific design principle and you want to use facts from another resource about that design principle and how it would improve their work or how it was effectively used in their work. You can kind of use that as your citation. It kind of beefs up your, it kind of rounds your comments out a little bit more, gives it more substance because it's backing up what you're saying in your own words. Okay, so you're using your own words, but then also backing it up with citations. If you have problems with how to embed the image, this is kind of the instructions given, links that you can watch to help that. And what that does is just post it. So when you post your discussion, it'll show right away. So we're not having to click on it and download it. You can just see it right then and there in the actual discussion forum. Any questions about that? Does that make sense? Does that clarify what you had questions about there? It's more about reflection and then also the critique that you give to your peers. Okay. And, also let me know if you have any questions going forward, but sometimes when we read other people's posts, it also helps kind of understand what we need to do if they're doing it correctly. There's also examples down here, sample 1 and sample 2. And I'll show you, let me stop sharing here, that you can download if you're, needing something, inspiration to kind of get started here. These are in here, and there's critiques in here. There's sticky notes from the instructor, so you can kind of read on, what they're trying to add in there to improve or just to comment about it. But you can see how they wrote this for this particular discussion. And what's nice about this is it's a benchmark for where you guys should be. So it's showing you A-level work. Okay, this other one this is the second one here. So, read through these, kind of get a good idea of what they're saying here. You can see how much copy is being used, the reference, and all that good stuff. So that kind of helps too sometimes to see it. You can also, let's see here. Yeah, I don't know if there's here's the APA discussion post here if you need help with how to cite that, which I think is always given to you guys. So, okay. And I'll just be really kind of looking at how you're, not only how you're initiating your first response, your first post, and these questions that you're answering, but I'm also seeing how you objectively give constructive feedback to your peers as well. All right, so let's go forward here. Got your discussion 3, so get that started as soon as possible so that you guys can give constructive feedback as soon as possible. All right, let's take a look at some overview for grids. And we went over this before, but I thought this would be a good review because we are, not only are we constantly doing this grid formula for this actual class. We're going to be doing it for your upcoming project as well. And you guys had off for a couple weeks, so it's good to kind of do a little review. And this is something that you can talk about in your discussion. Remember how I said, use what you've learned in this class as well as resources. This is something that you can also bring into your discussion. So we talked about grids. You guys know what grids are, hopefully. They're a series of intersecting axes that create horizontal and vertical divisions of space on a page. A good example of that is like what you guys are working on, your magazine pages. Anything with a lot of information, body copy, and imagery that needs to be organized. A website is a good example too. Grids are always used. And grids allow the placement and interaction of visual elements, creating movement across a layout. If done properly, obviously. Grids can be simple or complex depending on the content, and they're not meant to be restrictive. They can be modified to fit content. If you're doing a grid structure, if you're placing it in, it's actually working and it's effective, it's almost like you cannot lose with grids. There's no way that you can really lose unless you're inappropriately using the grid structure. Like it's not very balanced, it's not aligned in terms of like everything you're trying to figure out. But if you have a good grid structure, it's almost like a win-win situation. So grids, the reason why we use grids is to control information, imagery as well, or design elements, to organize everything. Like I said, if you have a lot of information and imagery, it's a good way to organize that so it's not all over the place. Rhythm creates a rhythm, harmony, unity. Think of it as like music. You have a beat in music where it's, you have that rhythm, and that's why it works. So it's kind of like that visually in design, where the eye flows nicely around the page and it follows the information, and then, it's easy to digest visually. It's also functions for unity. Creates a unity within your design, readability, movement, like I said, with your eyes, balance, direction, contrast, interaction, and order. There's a lot of different functions that grids do for your layouts. Elements in a grid. So you have these elements, and we talk about these because we want to know the terminology. We want to understand when we actually communicate. We want to sound professional and know what we're talking about. So we use these words like columns, gutter widths, column intervals is another word for that, flow lines or rows, grid modules, and margins. So if I'm saying pay more attention to your margins, you understand what that means, hopefully. So when I say that, margin is basically defines the active area of a page and directs the viewer toward the visual elements. And sometimes I have given feedback in this class in particular too. It won't necessarily be just around your actual layout. Margins can also be, say if you did a pull quote in your feature article and you used a box, like a colored box, and then you put type in that box for your pull quote. I've kind of made mention to some of you who had, say that the body copy was a little too close to the edge of the box on one side and maybe not the other. I would say pay attention to your margins. And what I mean by that is the space around your copy. Make sure that it's even and balanced. Margins may vary in size depending on format as well as content. Folios and footers may be placed in margins. Margins are not intended to trap content. They are instead used to activate the positive spaces in a layout. So if you have copy that's too close to the trim edge, which means where the printer will trim, if it's a printed piece, it's almost like when I always like to say this to students because I think this is a really good analogy. If you were to frame a picture, the more space that you have around it, the white space, the little frame, the more important the picture in the middle becomes. It's more balanced. That focal point is being placed in there with that positive space. So kind of think of that as your work too. The less margin space you have, the less important that information becomes. For layouts with large amounts of text, books, large margins are ideal as they provide breathing space. You don't want it to look very crammed on your page either. Because what happens is when people look at that, it's really kind of not as easy to read and follow. It's distracting. It's, kind of takes away from the overall balance of the design. When you talk about columns, when I say, you need to make sure that your columns are consistent, or your body copy is on the same baseline in your columns. Basically, when I say columns, they're vertical divisions of space used to align visual elements. They're single, multiple columns can be used or interchanged, and the quantity and complexity of information determines columns. You can have, like in a newspaper, they might have, for instance, this example looks more like a newspaper example. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns for the body copy. Now, the headline and the first paragraph of text are almost 4 columns, but the columns are able to, you know, you're able to divide up your space in a way that works. You know, if you have a lot of copy, you know, for instance, I had some of you guys just use 1 column for your type. Now, 1 column would work if you were doing, say, a book, because you're just focusing on the type and the pages may not be as large and as wide. But for a magazine, you don't really want to go with 1 column because you don't want to break the rule of going over 74 characters within a line. And I made mention to that to some of you guys that did that. What happens when you go over 72 characters, now that's per character, that means per letter per line, is it becomes hard to read, because what happens is the line gets so long, the eye finds it harder to go back to the left and to the right again. So cutting that up, dividing that up into at least 2 columns is better for readability's sake. But anyway, when I say columns, that's kind of what we're referring to. In columns, you have a gutter width. So you can also call them column intervals. And that's the negative space that separates one column from the next and prevents text and images from clashing. So pay attention to that. You know, the gutter space is important. So you don't want to make sure that it's, you know, not too narrow, but just wide enough. And usually that's defaulted whenever you set your type. But if you find that, you know, it's not working with the point size that you're using, you'll need to adjust your gutter, which is something that you definitely can do. Don't forget too, and I noticed some of you guys doing this as well, your images that you're aligning with your columns also may be getting in the way, may not have enough margin space. And I'm not talking about the gutter at this point, but I would say probably keep it very, very consistent with maybe your gutter space. You know, how much space is in between your body copy is maybe the space that you want around your imagery so that you have a nice clear space around it. There's also flow lines. We talked about this before, and it's support for vertical columns by dividing the page into horizontal intervals to provide additional alignment points across the grid. It dictates the horizontal positions of a visual element and how they rise or fall along columns. And they're used for consistency. So the flow lines that you see here are in the blue lines that you see kind of crossing horizontally on the page. Modules are spaces created by columns, rows, and margins that support text and visuals. Content will determine the amount of active modules, and they can be used for consistency. And it's okay to leave modules empty as negative space to balance design. So what that means, when you say empty, it could be just white space, depending on what color background that you have. It can even just be, say if you have a black background, it can just be black. It could even just be a color block or maybe even an image. So here are the components in a visual, you know, it's always nice to see it visually too, example. So you have the columns in the orange. Modules are the bright orange there. Margins are the blue areas. Spatial zones, we didn't talk about that. Those are groups of modules or columns that can form specific areas for type, ads, images, or other information. Flow lines we just talked about. And markers is the little X at the very bottom. You can see down there on the page. It helps a reader navigate a document, indicating placement for material that appears in the same location. Markers include page numbers, running heads and feet, headers and footers, and icons. Sometimes you can use a little icon. For example, maybe it ends an article. Sometimes that's even used at the very end of an article, like a little dingbat to signify that. Be a little different. Here's another visual example of just everything that we talked about, including the gutter here and a row with the folios down below, running footer. And modular grids, talking about that, it's the same as a multiple, and this is the types of grids that we're talking about. So this is, again, this is something that you can bring up in your discussion if that's something that you use within your feature article. Same as multiple column grid with the addition of flow lines. Modules are the active areas of the page that accommodate visual elements. They're good for complex applications such as magazines and newspapers. Here's what a modular grid looks like. And let's see here. Single column manuscript grid. This is a basic structural grid, good for producing large amounts of text, such as books. In this grid, margins are the only consideration. You probably, hopefully, didn't use this grid structure for your magazine. There's a multiple column grid structure, contains multiple spatial intervals. It's very flexible. It's a very flexible grid, allowing for a range of visual elements. It's great for complex projects like magazines, newspapers, and publications with diverse content. Rhythm, movement, and tension can be developed through the interaction of visual elements in multiple column grid. There's an example there. You can have a hierarchical grid. It's based on intuitive placement of elements rather than regular repetition of intervals. Organic approach to using grids. Alignments change depending on content but remain proportionally integrated. And web pages are good examples of this. All right. Alternative grids, you also have to choose from: loose and organic. Rely heavily on intuitive placement. Most alternative grids rely on a dominant visual element, focal point, to help align other elements, and develop spatial relationships through the push and pull technique. So you can see here on the very top part is the grid structure that is the alternative grid laid out, and then below is how the imagery and text would be added in there. So, you know, this would probably be more for a design magazine rather than a more conservative type of a magazine. Any questions about that? I mean, that was pretty much a review, but any questions about that? All right. Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll get started with your assignment 3. We'll do a little overview, and then I'll start the demo, give you some tips and tricks and some ideas to finish your full page advert. Does that sound good? All right, I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. All right, can you hear me? All righty, let's get started here. I think you guys will enjoy this assignment. I think it's kind of creative and interesting. So let's go take a look at your assignment 3. So you are going to be creating an ad, a full page ad for your page 8 in your magazine, okay? So, read through this background. It kind of talks about the power of persuasion and different grid structures to think about, important hierarchical order of information. I won't read this word for word, but go ahead and read this before getting into the prompt here. It's definitely a good thing to kind of review, because it talks about what to pay attention to when you do create your one full page ad. I'm going to go right to the prompt here. So let's read through this and let me know if you have any questions, and then we'll get started with the demo. Okay, so whether you are advertising a new product or service, creating an advertisement can persuade the consumer to purchase the product or service based on the information presented in the ad. With magazines, it is possible to target a specific target audience. If an advertiser has a product or service to promote, they may choose magazine advertising because many magazines have a large circulation that targets a specific demographic. A designer who can differentiate between effective and ineffective grid use when communicating with the end user will be able to create an advertisement that attracts attention, communicates through the arrangement of design elements, and persuades the consumer to purchase the product or service. Now, this is kind of this is definitely the most important part of this. This can actually be talked about in your discussion as well, so just kind of give you a little heads up there. We're talking about the problem that you're trying to solve. This is kind of talking about how to do that. For this assignment, you will design a full-page advertisement using an effective grid structure that will be placed on the back of your magazine. Carefully choose a product or service that targets your magazine's audience. So the assignment instructions are as follows. So in the 8-page document you will set up in week 1, you will be using page 8 for your full page advertisement. Create a grid structure that effectively communicates with the end user and apply the principles of design, as always, CRAP, to your ad. The required design elements, so these are what needs to be in there: headline, 1 visual image at a minimum, body copy, advertiser's name, logo, create a simple logo, and contact information. The submission requirements: you need to package your InDesign file, include a PDF, save your package folder as a zip file, and then name it as shown there. I noticed some of you guys are not properly packaging your files, so I will review that today as well, so we can kind of make sure you're on the same page there. I have a lot of you just sending me either the InDesign file only or InDesign file and the PDF, but not the actual package zipped file. There's examples here that are kind of nice to take a look at. So let's go ahead and pop these examples open here and take a look of what other students have created in the past here. Oops. Okay, let me open these up here. Sorry, guys. Should have had these open up before. Now, now these examples obviously have sticky notes to them, comments that are made from the instructor that evaluated the work, so just kind of be mindful of that. But we can all learn from each other, so if you want to read those sticky notes, definitely do so, see what the evaluation is on. So this is a really nicely laid out ad for, I believe, the the magazine that is for the Rebuilder Home magazine. So what you want to do, and this can help if you do research, if you're not quite sure who would be advertising in your magazine. Now you should have some sort of an idea, but if you need more ideas, you can definitely either open up a magazine that is within that same topic, or obviously go online and check out other magazines that are, that same theme and kind of see who's advertising in their magazines. Now, don't forget, this is a full page back cover ad. People pay good money for this space. The front, inside, and the back cover full page ad are probably one of the most expensive ads to place on, because, you know, obviously if it's not the cover that's on the table, it's going to be flipped over. It's the back cover. It's going to be most likely on thicker paper. It's just easy to see. You don't need to really flip through the magazine to see it either. It just needs to be flipped over. So remember this and make sure that your ad is up to par and looks like an ad that would be placed on the back cover. You know, it has to look professional. Now, this is a great ad for a back of a cover for this Rebuilder magazine. It's nicely balanced. You can see that the headline is very easy to read. Your eye goes straight to that headline. I mean, you see the focal point is the beautiful kitchen. So the focal point is working with the idea of what this is for. So this is a kitchen and bath company that's selling kitchens, designing kitchens, remodels. So right away, your eye goes right to where the contrast is, the hierarchy of type, affordable luxury, nice typeface that aligns with that. The actual word luxury, you know, that's a nice typeface that aligns with that. Enjoy a kitchen for your lifestyle is a nice little tagline. So really think about a headline and a tagline that's going to explain to the target audience what this is all about. You don't want to have too much guessing here. You want to keep it simple. You know, you don't want to put too much body copy on an ad like this either. So you want to keep it simple and clear. So this is nicely done because it has affordable luxury, enjoy a kitchen for your life. Okay, now I know this is about kitchens. And then right down here it says upgrade today, just a little offer down below here, upgrade today, $500 off kitchen remodel. So not only does it have what it is about, but it's an incentive on, you know, on what their services are. And then it has their logo with their phone number on it, which is the call out. Okay. Now, this is a logo that this particular student designed. You don't have to make it this, you know, you don't have to make it a combination mark. This is a combination mark. So it has, you know, the house with the name. You can, if you want, you could just make it a word mark, keep it simple. You can even add a web address if you want. This particular student didn't, but you can definitely do that. All right, here's another one. Let me close out of here, these comments. And again, this would be for the Remodel magazine. This looks like it's from the same student because it's the same logo. I would say the other one was a little bit more effective, but this is just showing you an outdated kitchen, and then it goes, you can definitely see that as the focal point. And then the headline says, is your kitchen outdated? It goes right with the image, so it kind of goes hand in hand. You dream it, we build it. So they're kind of telling you what they're doing, what the problem is being solved. It has their contact information below on the right-hand bottom corner, which is a nice send-off area to put your information there, like the logo and the website and call out. And then the very bottom left is the little free in-home consultation offer. So those are some good ideas for the Home Builder magazine. If you are doing the Fit Me magazine, what are some ideas of different, oh, somebody else just joined us here. Sorry about that. Ray, how you doing? Welcome. Just saw that you got in here. Hello. What are some ideas of advertisers that would be, or, you know, of a service or a product that could be in the Fit Me magazine? The fitness magazine. Running shoes, good. So athletic shoes. Diets, a diet program, any type of diet food. I mean, we're all talking about that now that we have New Year's resolutions going on, right? Sportswear, gym membership, good. Yeah, I had some students do gym stuff, good. So we have the Home Builder magazine, we have the Fit Me magazine. And we have the, and you know, you can definitely go back to your assignment 1 to read through each of them, like what their magazine is all about. You have the remodel magazine, so any type of advice on home improvement, from design to building to remodeling every room in your house. The main ingredient is the second choice. If you're doing this, what would be some of your, maybe a full page ad that could be on the back of the page for the main ingredient magazine? You guys think of some ideas for that one? And that focuses on fitness too, healthy eating habits, offering new cooking recipes. Remember, like the keto diet, that's a big thing, right? Organic brands, good. You know, think of something that would relate to that. Maybe even kitchen appliances that could be focused on, like juicing and stuff like that. Could be a cookbook. Good. All right, so we're kind of getting some ideas of what that all entails, so that's good. So choose who you think you would want. This is where the creative freedom comes through for this. This is kind of nice. So you guys have the choice to decide on who's going to be the back full page ad brand advertisement for your magazine. So make sure that it aligns with your magazine, and then also design it so that it looks professional. You're using a certain grid structure to unify and organize your information. You have at least, you know, one visual image at a minimum. You can have more than one. You definitely have to have a headline. Body copy, I would say, to a minimum. And then obviously the advertiser's name, logo. And I'll show you kind of how I would approach it if you know, I was designing it, so you guys get some ideas. Another thing to think about, just to throw this out there, you guys are going to be designing web ads, web banners for your assessment, which we'll be going over on Wednesday. You might want to keep this ad pretty simple because you're going to be converting this ad to your web banner ads. Okay, so if you're going to use tons of body copy, which I would definitely say, you know, if anything, a few sentences, maybe like a little paragraph, if you know, at the most, could probably be used effectively. But you don't want to use a ton of copy because you have to transfer that over. We're going to be creating a web ad that's going to be a different size, a different orientation. So really think about how you can make your first full page ad flexible enough and versatile enough so that you can make it a different orientation. That's another thing to kind of keep in mind. Okay, any questions so far about that? Okay, here, I lost my chat area here. Hold on one second. Do we have to find our own image brand and make up our own? Yes, good question. Yep, it's all up to you guys. You guys aren't given any. The only thing that you're given is that it's 8.5 by 11 because it'll be on the back page of your cover. Everything else is up to you guys. And you know, sometimes you'll find yourself in that position where you'll get a client, and typically the client has everything that you need. Sometimes even having the ad itself just to place in there. But sometimes you'll get a client that gives you, say, the body copy, the image, but they don't know what to do for a headline. So you could be asked to create a headline. And that's kind of fun sometimes because it makes you feel like it's, you know, more of what you kind of put into it, your own design. Sometimes they give you just copy and no imagery, and you have to find that. So you have to kind of get used to that creative freedom sometimes. Yep, so if it helps, I would definitely research other full page ads. You can definitely go online. Let me see if I can find. You can even go just a Google search. It'll be something that you can do. Let me see here, hold on one second. You can do full page fitness ads. So I just did a quick full page fitness ad search on Google. Some of them are, obviously this is a double page spread, kind of interesting. But you can definitely look up, some of these are web pages too, so you can have to filter through, but you can see what comes up with that. There's some yoga ads. There's some awareness ads. Okay, so that's just kind of an idea if you want to try to find that information. I would say, you know, obviously try to make it your own. So try to formulate your headline with the imagery that you use. Pixabay.com is a great photo, high-res photo, royalty-free photo site that you can use. Let me type that in there. You guys probably have heard of it. It's been out there for a while. Pixabay. And what you can do is just go in there and search imagery that kind of fits your ad. And you can download a high-res if you need to. And use it. You know, you don't have to worry about royalty rights and all that. Copyrights. Okay, so any other questions about that before I get started with the demo? Nope. You guys are good. All right, so what you would do is go right to page 8. Now notice, let me bring up my, let me reset my essentials here. Notice how my page 8 is still a master page. See how it has the letter A right there? I want to make sure that that's not a master page. So if you have a master page set on that, you know, you have your folio on page 8, all you have to do is go to your page panel, go to where it says none above your A master page, click and drag it right over top of page 8 so that the A disappears only on page 8, and obviously the folio disappears because you don't want the folio, the page number doesn't have to be on there on the very back page. Okay, with that being said, I'm doing the fitness magazine, remember? So in my demo, I want to choose a theme, a product or a service that goes with that. So I'm a big yoga person, and I kind of thought, and I'm sure this idea is out there already. This is kind of where you can be a little bit more creative. Maybe you have an idea for a certain product too that you want to, you know, kind of do a logo for. It's kind of exciting to do something like that. But I was trying to think up of my own company. So think of something that's not already out there. You don't want to use something that's already done. You don't want to use a brand that's already out there. So this is going to be something that you completely create yourself. It's going to be a fictional company. So have fun with it. So what I was thinking about was a traveling yoga studio, which probably exists now, but you know, it's a place that travels around in certain areas, and you know, maybe they go to parks and travel around in different areas and communities, maybe inside and out buildings, whatever. So I thought, what, you know, this would be kind of a cool thing to check out. So what I did was I went on pixabay.com. So let me show you how I did this real quick here, because I wanted to find a really nice image that works well for my traveling yoga studio. And I just typed in yoga, of course, keyword. And I'm trying to find a picture. It's going to be my focal point image that says what this traveling yoga studio is all about. Okay, so I want to find something that fits the theme kind of in my head that I'm talking about. Now you can write down a word list if that helps. You know, think of it as another design project where you're coming up with, you know, adjective, maybe an adjective list of what this brand's all about. Yeah, the beach ones are good. Yeah, there's so many good ones in here. So think about the brand that you're creating. You're almost like creating this brand from scratch. Who are they? What are they about? Write down adjectives, or maybe it's, you know, you're either selling a service or a product, or maybe even both. So thinking about that, how are you going to, you know, approach your imagery to do so, you know, that aligns really well with that. So the image that I thought worked really well, I don't know if I'm going to find, is this one right here. I like this because it looks like this woman's traveling down this road. It's not quite inside a studio, so it gives that flexibility of being outside and inside. You know, she's not really looking at the camera, so it's non-invasive. I like how she looks balanced. I think that this would work very well. So what I did was I just did a free download. It allows you to download like a high res, and then you can also make it a low res if you need to later on. All right, so I downloaded that. Now the only thing with that one is it is a horizontal layout, right? So it's a landscape, not a portrait. And that's okay as long as I download the high res and the image works well within my 8.5 by 11 if I'm bleeding it off, which was kind of my point, what I wanted to do with this, okay? So think about the grid structure that you want. How do you want this set up? Do you want to split, not split, but do you want to do the 1/3, you know, where you're pulling down your ruler guides and maybe this top half is the image and this bottom half is the copy? Do you want to break it up even more from there? You know, maybe you want to do an image here, and copy up here, and then the logo down here. So think about how you want to set this up. You might need to do a little sketch work. You might need to, you know, kind of move things around on your layout. That's fine. But, you know, kind of see what works for your layout. Now, because I'm doing a yoga ad, I really want it to look balanced and symmetrical. So I'm going to kind of keep it very symmetrical, very centered. So I'm not really going to do any type of this type of grid structure. The one thing I do want to have you guys steer away from, and I know every once in a while one of you guys do this, so I wanted to point this out. You never really want to cut a layout in half. And what I mean by that is you never really want to go right in half here, you know, where you're going to have the image up here. This would be half probably here, and the block of text stay down here. Now the reason behind that is because when you cut a layout exactly perfectly in half, it creates a disconnect right away with the top half and the bottom half. Or, you know, if you were to do it vertically, it would be obviously the other way around. So it becomes almost like two separate ads instead of one full ad. If you want to, you know, the 1/3 rule is the best because you have the focal point is, you know, obviously it works in terms of, and it all depends on where you put the imagery and the color and all that, but it becomes a more interesting layout. You're not dividing that space in half where it becomes two parts. It's kind of still the same. It unifies a little bit better. So you can do with 1/3. Just be really careful. Some of you guys get really close to being almost half. It almost, say like for instance, this looks almost like it's split in half. So you really want to make sure that, you know, it doesn't look like a half page. You're going to pull this down a little bit more so you know visually that this is, you know, this top part is bigger than the bottom part or vice versa. Just a couple things to kind of make mention to. All right, so I kind of know that I want my image to just be one image, and I want it to be the focal point, and I want it to be symmetrical. So I already downloaded my image. I'm going to go right up to my bleed here and draw out my text frame, or my rectangle frame tool, and I'm going to, and you could do a Command D or file place. Command D is the shortcut for place, and then place that image in. Now I have to find this because I don't think I downloaded this on my desktop here. Give me 1 second. Lectures week 3. Demo, here she is. All right. Now when you place this, obviously it's going to place in whatever size it was before you converted it. Now another thing to kind of keep in mind, you might want to take this image, it's a good habit to take this into Photoshop first. So what I would say is open up Photoshop when you download that image or any image that you're deciding to use, and we need to make sure that the size is correct for your print magazine. Now this is a print magazine, right? So you have to make sure it's ready, it's right for the print magazine. So I'm opening up Photoshop, and let me open up that image in here, and I'll show you how to, I got some pictures in there. Sorry, guys, some personal pictures in there from Christmas. Okay, so week 3, assignment 3, doing live lectures. So open up that image. Okay, here's my image. And then in Photoshop, you're going to go up to image, image size. Okay. Now this is the first thing that you want to do all the time when you're importing any imagery into your magazine, a print magazine. Because right now, when I downloaded this image, it's set at 72 dots per inch. Now it's really big. You can see in inches. It's 26 inches by 17. What I want is the resolution to be set at 300. This would be okay if it was for, you know, a web ad. Of course, this is kind of big, so that would have to be adjusted. But because we're doing print, we want this to be 300. Now watch when I type in 300 and then I hit resample. Watch what happens to the width and the height. It changes, right? Because we are condensing the pixels. So almost 6.5 by 4.25. Is at 300 resolution. So that would work. This would work for my layout. I don't think it would be grainy at all. It's high res for print, so I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to save it as, file save as, and I'm going to save it as a TIFF file. Now TIFF files, under format, you want to save as a TIFF. If you save it as a JPEG, it's more condensed. You're leaving out pixels so that the image isn't as large in size, but for printing purposes, you want your file to be the highest res and the most pixel information. So you want to be a TIFF file. Now your file size is going to be larger because of that, but for printed purposes, that's the best format to choose. Now I'm going to rename this just for the sake of knowing where I'm going to be saving it here and what the new picture I have. And I'm just going to save this to my desktop, but you can save it in your folder when you get a chance. Everything else is good here. Then I'm going to go right back into InDesign. This is always a good habit to be into when you're doing anything for print and web. You need to convert it too for web. And I'm just going to do a Command D, and I'm going to place that new image that I just saved, my Yoga Girl TIFF, in here. All right, now it's not placing in exactly the way that I want it to, so I want to make sure that I'm going up to Object Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionately. And that's going to fill it proportionally based on the height of my frame box. Okay, not the width, because if I double click on this, you'll see a red box appear, and this is telling me you have more image on the left and more image on the right. And that's because I have a landscaped image instead of a portrait image, but it's fitting proportionately based on my height. And it looks pretty good. It's not, you know, I'm looking at this, it doesn't look pixelated at all. It looks pretty good. So I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to draw a line kind of halfway in between here. This is an 8.5. So my middle would be probably right here. And I'm doing this only because she's a little off centered. So I'm going to double click to create that red box, and I'm going to use my right arrow on my keyboard just to center her a little bit better there. Looks good. Okay, so you might need to do some of those adjustments based on the size and the image that you're using. No, this is in InDesign. If I hit W on my keyboard, I go right to my guides. If I hit W again, it goes to my presentation. So it'll take all my guidelines off. If that's kind of maybe what you're experiencing. That's okay. Yep, no problem. Welcome, Amber. I didn't see you kind of come in here until. Oh, okay. So if your guides are disappearing, hit W on your keyboard. That might be the case depending on how you're viewing it. You might even need to go up to Window I'm sorry, view. I always go to window. If you go up to view on your menu bar, you make sure you're showing your guides. It should say, mine say hide because they're showing right now, but if they say show guides, they might be hiding in that instance. Okay, the next thing that I need to do is think about, okay, a headline that's gonna work for this. You know, I'm thinking this is a traveling yoga studio. I'm gonna take my type tool. I want it to be big. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. I don't know why it would be disappearing. I'm going to take my type tool and just drag out a big type box up here. And this might take you longer. I'm kind of like, this is kind of like the quick cooking show where I already kind of thought up the concept. So it might take you a little longer to think of a headline. You might need to find the image first, kind of think about what it is that you're trying to do in terms of what you're selling or the service that you're providing, and then kind of think of, sometimes the headline comes last, you know. So for this one, let me see if I can bring my type over. Too many panels up here, sorry guys. Stuff's being hidden behind. Let me see here. Where's my type character box here? There it is. Okay. I'm going to set this pretty large. I'm going to write something that's very relative to, obviously, my brand. Nothing gets in the way of my yoga mat. So think of a headline that's going to get, you know, tie in with the product or service that you're thinking of. It could be a little vague, but then you can add, you know, a tagline underneath or a subhead that explains what it is that you're talking about, kind of like that kitchen ad I showed earlier. And then it kind of, you know, obviously tells you what that's all about. You don't want the viewer to look at this and say, well, what is this selling? Like, I don't understand. So be very clear. The headline can be a little vague, but have something to kind of sum it up so that you're kind of talking to the target audience and telling them what this is all about. Now I'm going to go to paragraphs, set this as centered. I like everything centered for my layout just because it's all about balance. Yoga is about being centered. And then I'm going to, obviously I need the type to be readable. So I'm going to double click on my color, text color, and change it to white just for now. The typeface is also important. So the typeface has to work with the brand. It has to align with what the brand's all about. I thought maybe more neutral typeface would be good. So I actually downloaded a typeface called Conforta. And I think it's kind of a nice in between where it's not too edgy, you know, as far as like being a sans serif typeface can be very hard edged. And I like this because it's more rounded and more organic, yet it's still neutral. So it's not feminine or masculine. It's kind of a neutral font. And it works for the topic. You know, it kind of aligns with the qualities of what yoga is about. Okay, the next thing is to make sure your headline is big enough and it breaks. You know, if you have a lot of, like I have a lot of words in mine, if it's just one word, obviously you don't have to worry about that. But I want to make sure it breaks in a way that makes sense. So you might want to say this out loud. Nothing gets in the way. And usually right there is where I know, okay, I should probably break this. So do a shift return of my yoga mat. You know, that breaks nice there. So I do a shift return to bump down the second line. I could probably get this a little bit bigger. So let's see what we got here. Balance it out with my leading a little bit. Give some breathing room. The only other thing is readability and then the placement. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit towards her head so it's a little bit, you know, more balanced. You don't want it too far up here. You know, you don't even, I wouldn't put it up here right where the margin is just because I want that extra space on top. I want this to kind of go with the image a little bit better. So I have a little bit of a readability issue in here where the white is of the trees. So maybe just a quick fix to this would be going out to Object Effects and do just a really slight, subtle drop shadow. And right now it's kind of giving me a longer drop shadow. I'm going to pull this in just a little bit. So the distance I'm pulling in, and then the opacity I can even kind of play around with too. So it might not be as dark, but you know, it's a little bit more readable there. Okay. I'm not going to add a period or anything. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I'm going to keep it very simple. And now what I'm going to do is kind of explain what it is. Because right now, if somebody looked at this right now, they'd be like, okay, well, I don't understand what this is all about. Nothing gets in the way of my yoga mat. Okay, well, what's that mean? So now I have to explain what this is all about. So I'm just going to add a very quick little message in here about what this is. So let me change this to Conforta again. I'm going to make this smaller. So maybe 14-point type. Again, I'm going to make this white for readability's sake. And oh, another thing is maybe just trying all lowercase. Keep it consistent. That's kind of a nice natural look to it. Join our traveling yoga studio. So right now, not only am I explaining about what it is, but I'm kind of giving a what to do, like a call to action there. Join our traveling yoga studio. So that's what it is, and come join us. I'll pull this down a little bit to the bottom here. I could put another drop shadow to this too if I wanted to, maybe make it a little bit bigger. Let's try 27. I don't want it to be as big as the headline, so maybe I'll bump it back a little bit. There's definitely hierarchy there. I could throw a drop shadow on it, the same drop shadow. I think that helps. Kind of does in a little way. And then I need to have, you know, I'm kind of explaining to people what this is, call to action almost, but then I need to obviously have a call to action in there. Now I can add to this text box if I wanted to and just adjust the leading, or I could create a separate box. I'm just going to add to this. So I'm going to put yogitravelers.com. Now this is, I'm being a little, I'm kind of using this as not only the word mark, so I don't even have to do a logo, it's very simple, but I'm also showing it as my brand name and also as a call out. So it's all in one there. I'm going to adjust the leading. So I'm going to pull it away from the tagline just a bit. Get that space in between there. I can make it a little bit smaller, make it fit in there. And, you know, I can change, you know, make it maybe a little bit more bold. Oops, I'm going to pull it up a little bit. Oops, this way. There we go. All right, and then I can kind of balance this out based on what this looks like. And then, you know, obviously I would, I can see this, I don't know why I'm getting those lines in there. Let me stop sharing. Maybe that's a weird sharing thing here. Zoom in. Are my lines still there? That's really strange. Let's see. Hi, guys. I'm not sure why those lines are in there, but anyway, might just be my view, the way my thing's viewing here. It's really strange. Shouldn't have those blue lines in there. But it's very simple, very to the point, balanced. I have the focal point image, the headline, text that kind of supports what the brand is about. I have the brand name and the call out all together. Very simple. I want it to be very simple. This can convert very easily in other ways, very versatile and flexible. And it's relative to the brand. It would make a really nice back cover too. Now, you know, you can design, say, a logo if you wanted to, maybe add something to this by all means, if you want to get, you know, that's the fun part too. I think a word mark is definitely can work, but, you know, coming up with something fun and interesting in terms of a actual mark is also fun to do. So you can definitely do that. And you could do that in Illustrator and bring it in. You don't have to do it in, you know, it's kind of limiting when you do this in InDesign. I'm just showing you really quickly if you were to decide to do a word mark, what it would look like. Just very quickly here, a very simple mark. But you can definitely do this in Illustrator and then import it in as a word mark if you'd like. The only thing is I probably would definitely pull this down a little bit more. Being the same size, you know, you want to balance that out too. And then just pull all this up a little bit. I can also take that completely out if I wanted this just to be, that's like right on her butt, right? And add the subhead here. I would just have to bring this up a little bit, and then I probably would make this just a little smaller. I'm not sure why those blue marks are showing here, but let me close out and go back in. See if that, oh, it doesn't even, it doesn't matter. Did I just lose you guys here? Yeah, okay, let me go right back. For some reason, the blue lines are still showing. I apologize. I'm not sure. I've never had that happen before. They shouldn't be showing. But anyway, this is just an example of what you guys can do here. Now, do you have any questions about what I just showed you guys? Is there... I mean, you could do a really cool, you know, modular grid to this too and add in more imagery if you want. I just did something very simple. Can we make the logo in Illustrator and copy and paste? Okay, so if you make it in Illustrator, that's a good question. Quit out of Photoshop here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna save it out as a PNG file. So PNG. You're gonna save it as an AI file for your own files to work with. And then you're gonna export it out as a PNG file. And you're gonna make sure the background is transparent. Once you save it as a PNG file, you'll go back into your InDesign file. You'll make a rectangle frame box and you'll go File, Place, or Command D, and you're gonna place that PNG file in there. And that's how you would import it into your InDesign file. Yep. Good question. Any other questions about that? So there's infinite possibilities of the brand or the service that you're gonna do or the layouts that you choose, the headlines that you're gonna creatively think of. Think about the persuasive element of this. How are you going to persuade? You know, you've had probably design classes, advertising classes in the past that talked about powers of persuasion. So what are you going to do? Are you going to pull at the heartstrings? Are you going to, like, is it a limited offer? Is it a testimonial? You know, there's totally different types of persuasive tactics that you can choose from. So you might even want to look up persuasive concept ideas for ads and see what's right for your product and or service. When you're ready to export this out, now this is going to be on your page 8. Remember to eliminate your folio on page 8, just like you did. Yeah, I think it's definitely fun. You can come up with like 3 concepts if you want, and then just kind of eliminate as you go forward. Sometimes that's always the best approach too, kind of different layouts and concepts. All right, so place it onto your page 8. And I'm going to go through this again because some of you guys are perfectly fine with this, and I'm glad, but there are those of you that are struggling with how to package your design project. And it's really, really easy, and you guys should know this by now, so hopefully this will help clarify. So in InDesign, when you're done, your ad's done and placed, you're going to go up to File, Package, and you're going to have this panel pop up, and it's going to kind of give you the full scope of what's included in here: fonts, colors, inks. You're just going to go hit package. You're ready to go. Another panel will pop up, and it's going to have where you can change the name of this. So I would change it to assignment 3, and then your last name, whatever the details of the assignment give to you in the assignment specs. I'm going to save it to my desktop just for now. You guys can have a folder if you want, obviously, for your class. But make sure that you have everything pretty much check marked here, including the PDF. You can keep it at smallest file size is fine, especially if you are deciding to, obviously you're going to be importing the TIFF file, so you don't want it to be really big. So smallest file is fine. I will just be reviewing this on my screen. So everything should be check marked, and then hit package and click OK. Okay, hold on 1 second, Amber. Get to your question here. Okay, and then I'm going to share my desktop. So here's my packaged folder. And if I double click on it, you want to double click on here and actually look at your PDF just to make sure it looks good. So go ahead and pop open the PDF just to make sure it looks good. And you can set the view size to display the 2-page scrolling so that you have, your double page spread, kind of what it looks like to be a real magazine. Oh, it still has the lines in there. I wonder why it's doing that. It's really strange. We'll have to take a look at that. It's actually showing my blue lines in there. Never had that happen before. But take a look at this. Like, for instance, I'd have to go back in here and fix whatever these blue lines or what's going on here. But just kind of take a look at it, make sure everything looks good. When you're done, let me share my desktop again. Everything looks good. This is, oh, let me share my desktop. Hold on, guys, sorry. What am I doing? Share desktop. There we go. This folder, what you're going to do is you're going to click on it, and if you are on a Mac, you can hit Control and click, and it goes to compress, or you can go up to File, Compress, and that's going to zip your folder so that it's one file that you can submit. Okay, so let me go back and answer your question here. When you place text into InDesign and you change the paragraph style, why does it mess up the pacing? I had it set to no text. This is a file with all you email it. Sometimes I've seen Canvas be real weird with certain zip files, so just email it to me if you can. I've had students do that. Okay, large spaces. Okay, what could be probably happening, what sounds like what's happening, so you're telling me let me take the text box here. Oops. And let's put some placeholder type in there. So what I'm thinking is do a select all. Yeah. What I'm thinking is you're probably set to justified in your paragraph when it should be left justified. So if I were to switch to this, it could put some big gaps in between some of my sentences. More so than if I have it left justified. Type isn't really showing that, but So it's not set up here to this justified. It's set to left. Are there actual tabs in between? Do you have it up, Amber? Did you want to share your screen? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll stop sharing. You can share your screen. It might have been just accidental adding of, and you can turn your mic on if you want. Maybe you accidentally hit tabs in there or spaces in there.
I'd go in and I would change the size of the font to adjust it to where I needed it, and it would automatically add all these tabs in there. I'd have to go in and individually click and delete each and every one, and sometimes it was like 3 and 4 tabs.
Oh, okay. Let me see what you have, what you're talking about.
And I checked the spacing before, spacing after, I checked the leading, I checked the tracking.
Okay.
I'm waiting for it to load now.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Now, that happened after you copied and pasted it from the Word file?
Yes.
Okay.
I had adjusted a lot of the fonts, and then I went back and adjusted some of the font sizes.
Okay.
And that's when I would do it.
Amber, did you freeze or is that?
Sorry, what?
Did you freeze? Because I see you kind of still stuck on the panel there, the file panel.
I was opening it. I don't know if it didn't share the one portion.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I just see your file panel. It's like kind of stuck on it. You might want to hit the stop share and go back just so we can maybe something. There you go. There again.
Okay, can you see it now?
Same spot. No, I don't see your file yet. It's still showing the file panel menu that you opened, trying to open it.
Okay, let me try my other hotspot. I'll reconnect in a moment.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead with the lecture.
Okay.
I have to switch internet providers.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why I have these rule lines in here. So let me see real quick here. Maybe I have some style sheets going on that are showing. Yeah. All right. That's probably what's going on here. Let me go to my last page. I don't think I had that set up as a style sheet, but these vertical lines, yep, that's what's going on. All right, so I kind of figured that out. For some reason, it's going to my paragraph style sheet. And it should just be a basic non-paragraph style sheet. So that's why I had the weird lines in there. It was almost like rule lines. I'll wait for Amber here. I'll just get this corrected. How you doing there? Do you have it ready to go, or are you still working on it?
I have it ready to go.
Okay. Let me stop sharing. Go ahead.
Wrong button. It minimized my screen as I went to click it. Okay. Share and design. Okay, like for example, if I would go in here and I wanted to change the font size on the in here,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go into my paragraph styles and I would edit it and say I changed that to 15. See what I mean?
I think it's because go back to what it was before.
I
Point size.
don't remember what it was before.
Okay. There must be a return in there, like a hard return. Somehow.
Okay, so it's coming from the original text then.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you try to fix any of your rags during the time that you were changing this? Did you do any type of hard or soft returns?
I might have, but this was before I had gone in and I did it at the very end.
Okay, that's probably what I think that's probably what's going on. So if there's a big gap because you're making it smaller, it's probably because there's a return or in there that's messing it up.
Okay.
It's frustrating because, you know, it's like it can appear all throughout if you did a lot of like fixing of your rags, but it's one of those things you have to go in and manually correct. But you're doing it correctly. You're editing your type correctly in regards to that. It's just you have to get rid of those extra spaces like you were doing manually, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was something that
now, is it doing it with the other type? Like it's all throughout, or is it just areas in there?
Can't remember if I had it with body copy or not. Let's see. Just certain areas.
Okay.
But it's like what was copied and pasted, and I just placed it in and adjusted it as I went, changed the formatting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see Apple said she had that happen to her and she had to manually backspace as well. Sometimes it's just, and sometimes how it's given to you in the Word file, there could be extra spaces or returns in there that you don't see until you paste it in there that you need to adjust that people give to you as far as the actual raw Word file. So it can be a little frustrating.
And it's actually showing my guides now. It wasn't for, like I would put them in and they would disappear.
Okay, so you can see that. So that problem solved.
Guess it resolved itself.
Yay.
I have another class that I'm doing and we're working in Photoshop, but any of my guides that I place just absolutely disappear.
Okay.
And I've restarted Photoshop. I've checked for updates. That's why I asked if you were in Photoshop at all.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it's just you have to close out, restart, see if that works. You know, sometimes it's just the weirdness of the program. Like you just saw me with the roll lines. I had accidentally sent my folio style sheets to my text. So sometimes that happens too. All right. So we figured that out, right?
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, Apple said she had to do that on 70-page mag before it was frustrating. Yep. So it can get kind of daunting if you have a very, very large file, page numbered file. So yeah, it can get frustrating for sure. All right, so hopefully that clarified a lot for you guys as far as what is expected of you for assignment 3. Did you guys have any other questions about that, or? We're all good to go? All right. Yeah, just don't forget Wednesday when we meet up, the same time, Wednesday, we will go over your assessment 3, and just kind of keep in mind that this 8.5 by 11 page, full page ad is going to be converted into 2 different sized web ads. So you want to make sure it's versatile enough, and you might want to go in there and see what the sizes are and see if it, you know, your orientation and your grid structure will work for that. You know, you're always kind of thinking ahead, because when you design an ad, it usually kind of gets morphed into other sizes and for other applications. So kind of keep that in mind going forward. All right, you guys, I'm going to kind of, you know, end this and wrap it up. If you guys don't have any other questions, you're welcome. Great to have you guys back. Hopefully you're ready to get started, and I want to see a lot of solid projects, you know, implement the revisions that I gave to you, put up your discussion feature article ad for those of you to critique, and I'll be on the boards commenting as well. So hopefully I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Yep. Yep. For example, 300 dots per inch can convert to 72 dots per inch. Yep. And I will show you that on Wednesday. So we'll go through all that. All right. Thank you guys so much, and you have a wonderful day. And I'll hopefully see you on Wednesday. Okay, bye guys.